Hello team. So last month I made a post about some business successes I had in a private business community, and the post was about how I went from charging £40 for hours and hours and hours of work, this was years ago, to closing over 5 figures in a day, present day. And I talked about like some of the learning lessons which I had along the way, some of the successes, some of the failures as well. I made this post in Sam Oven's business community, which is like a paid community, and unfortunately not many people are going to see it unless you're part of that community. And I thought to myself, you know what, why not share these lessons actually with you guys? So that's exactly what I'm going to do today, because if something has saved me time, or a learning lesson which I've learned in hindsight has saved me time, why not give it to you guys? Because truthfully, I made this channel because I want everyone to win, right? So that's exactly what I'm going to do today. I'm going to share some of the learning lessons with you, and hopefully, you can get a lot out of it. Okay, so learning lesson 1. If you're trying to build a business, the money is generally in the follow-up. You should be following up with people as much as possible. So Grant Cardone actually says, like, you usually close the sale between the 5th and the 8th follow-up. So if you think about that logically, sometimes you have, maybe spoken to a potential client, spoken to a potential person who wants to do business with you, and you exchanged an email or two, and then you've jumped on a call with them. That's only 3 follow-up points. And then what usually happens in the life of the typical entrepreneur is they actually give up after that. They're like, well, that person was a no, so I'm just going to move on and try somebody else. Now, I think it's a good idea to think to yourself that person's a no after a while of following up. But if you think about like the general statistics, between the 3rd and 8th touch point, someone is likely to buy from you. So think about like your potential clients, the people who said no to you, the people who are on the fence, those people who could be in your network, could be on your LinkedIn, could be on your Facebook, who you thought to yourself, I wonder if they're interested. They probably are. They probably just need more follow-up. Because if you think about it, right, if you go to, I don't know, a football match, if you go to like a sporting event, right, adverts are constantly in our face. If you watch Love Island on the TV, adverts are constantly on our faces. We don't buy the product the first time we're shown the advert. We buy the product after seeing the advert 20 times. In fact, we probably don't even consciously recognize what's being shown to us on a commercial, on some sort of advert, until it's been shown to us a whole bunch of times. The same thing applies in sales. And as time goes on, we are ending up in an era now where like the average human being sees, think something like 3,000 to 5,000 adverts per day. And these are all things which are trying to get you to buy. And then there's you who sat there thinking to themselves, as I used to, oh, well, I followed up with this person 1 to 2 times and they've not bought. It's probably just not for them. Realistically, you haven't done the work which is gonna set you apart from the crowd. So that's learning lesson 1. Follow up with the people. Right now, go and follow up with 3 people who you haven't contacted in like, I don't know, like a few days, a week, a month. Follow up with them, check how they're doing, ask how things are going, ask if they've had any more progress, re-engage them, ask how they are in themselves. All of this is just about building relationships, which is point number 2. And relationships are greater than being salesy. People buy from people they trust. People buy from people they feel genuinely care about them. So you should approach all of your potential sales, all of your potential clients who might someday buy from you. You should approach them like you would a relationship. Years ago, I was in like the sort of dating world, like I read like a lot of stuff about PUAs and like pickup artist stuff, and there's just a load of parallels to business, right? Now, if you picture, and I love to tell this to my client, right? Like any client I'm sort of coaching, because it's the same thing. If you're a guy or even a girl, right? If you're a guy, just for my sake, because I'm a guy and I know like the large majority of you are guys who watch this channel. If you're a guy and you go into a bar and you see a girl you like the look of, right? And you go straight up to her and you say, hey, can I get your phone number, right? She is most likely going to say, I've got a boyfriend, or make an excuse, or say no, right? Even, here's the paradox, even if she actually finds you attractive. And the reason why is the approach was wrong. You look like you were only after one thing. And a person who's only after one thing is not genuinely concerned about the other person, right? Now, if you go to the same bar, you find the same person, and little by little, you know, you just talk to them and you don't look like you are actually after something. If you just initiate a conversation with them, have a bit of a conversation, don't immediately go for like the pitch, right? Actually get to know them a little bit, build up a little bit of a relationship. And then you ask for like their phone number, you ask, you know, what are they, you know, doing this weekend or whatever. They are much more likely to say that, be open to actually getting to know you. And the paradox comes in as well, that even if the person might be dating someone, they're still more open to getting to know you, right? And the reason why is because everything's casual. Everything needs to be casual for human beings. You can't have too much jolting, jarring action for human beings because we get scared. We're insecure. We don't feel the security around us. So what we need to do is we need to like have the relationship, the soft bit first, okay? Same thing with prospects, same thing with sales. If you are going into every conversation, you're having a desperately trying, and this is way more common with B2B guys, right? They go in, they're like numbers, 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 numbers. It is a numbers game, but also don't forget that it's a human being on the other end of the phone or the other end of the computer screen as well. And it's a massive turnoff if you're just after one thing, because you're demonstrating massive interest just from your perspective, massive self-interest, and not keeping their best interests at heart, right? So start building relationships. It will actually help you make more sales. Take a little bit more time just to get to know someone. It's worked very, very well for me. Okay. Point number 3, don't decrease price, instead increase value. So I was, and I still do little bits of it, a LinkedIn coach. I was helping businesses with a LinkedIn strategy for sales and marketing for a long time. And like I got great results with it and people really, really liked the service. However, what I didn't think about at the time, because I was relatively, I was a little bit experienced in business, but I was nowhere near as experienced as I am now, sorry. There was such a low barrier to entry to doing that sort of that role, that industry, that over time, increasingly big amounts of competition entered the market. And I had 4 or 5 years of sales and marketing experience that it was genuine experience that I was helping people with, helping businesses with, and actually getting them good results. But because the barrier to entry for the market was so low, suddenly I'd find that I was competing with Joe Blogs, who's been on LinkedIn 2 weeks, has made 2 posts, one of them's went viral, and now he's branded himself as a LinkedIn coach. He's got much bigger reach than me because that second post happened to get 1 million views. And suddenly now I'm competing with him, who has no experience in sales, no experience in marketing, but because he's perceived as an authority, now I have to compete with this, which is twofold damaging for me, because first of all, the attention's on him. Secondly, as well, is if I start speaking to potential clients who have worked with a person who's very, very inexperienced, like Joe Blogs there, now what actually happens is like it's way harder for me to sell to them, because they're like, well, I've already kind of been down this route with this person here and they weren't very good, so I just assume that like LinkedIn's not a great platform for me. You see how this can be damaging. And what happens is when you have too many competitors in the market and you aren't really standing out against them, it becomes a race to the bottom for price. If you don't believe me, go on to any freelancer website, Upwork, people per hour. How can a freelancer from a westernized country compete with somebody from India or Philippines who's willing to do the job, the same job, probably longer hours with better quality for $3 an hour? You can't compete with that, right? It becomes a race to the bottom. So I actually, I saw this coming and I consistently outperformed my competitors and my markets because they were all having this race to the bottom. They were all starting to charge low prices. And I was like, I can't end up in this price war because my business is going to fail if I do. They don't know this because they're not very experienced, but it's like it's just a race to the bottom. And you have, margins which are pretty much deteriorating, right? So the only way to really go around it, there's two ways to be the cheapest person in the market, is to actually physically lower your price, or is to actually increase the value of your product so much that your competitors, that your potential clients actually think it's cheap for what it is, right? I'll just repeat that again because it's a lot of stuff to take in, but it's a massive, massive point in business. There's two ways to be the cheapest. You can either decrease your product price physically so much that you end up in a race to the bottom competing with everyone else. There's no difference in the products. You just want the price that's the cheapest, right? Think about, going out to the local shop and buying, I don't know, friggin' paper clips, right? You don't give a damn like what a premium paperclip, can do. All you care about is that it paper clips the paper together. You don't want to pay a premium price for that. You're just going to get the cheapest because they all do the same job, right? However, if you can increase the value of your product so it is perceived as cheap for what it actually is, which is what I did, then you can operate in your own market and have unique angles on things. You're not in a race to the bottom. You stacked value, so your service is a much bigger value to your clients, and you're dealing with bottlenecks that your clients can actually, are actually struggling with maybe further down the line, right? This is well talked about in Russell Brunson's .com Secrets book. Very, very good book. Good book on business. I think it was written in like 2015. Russell Brunson is the owner of ClickFunnels, and ClickFunnels is a funnel software where you can just quickly build like a website. I've used it. It's a good software. But read the book. Increase the value rather than decrease the actual price of it. Okay. That's how you be the cheapest on the market. Okay, point number 4. If you need cash quickly, there are some sales and prospecting tips that work great. So there's always a stage in business where like maybe things haven't went well. There's maybe things just haven't really went your way. You've made some mistakes. You've hit all reds when you've been betting on black. And it just happens, right? And sometimes you need cash quickly, or maybe you just need to launch another product and you actually need a bit of cash behind you. Here's some tips in order. Here's 3 tips in order, which will help you generate money faster. The first way is cold message all of your ideal prospects first, okay? So you've got prospects, they're your ideal clients, just message them, just cold message them, shoot them a message, ask them if they want to do business, right? You are trying to start conversations with people you don't know, but it's the quickest way rather than just like making tons and tons of content. Content's great for inbound stuff, for inbound leads, but if you need cash right now, maybe you haven't got 2 months to wait while the algorithm picks you up, right? Maybe you haven't got like the time to wait to see if people actually want to take the chance and actually reach out to you first. So what you do is you cold message people. That's number 1. Number 2, which is even more effective, follow up with all the previous no's that you've had in sales calls, right? I'm just reading off my screen here because I've got like this massive long post that I typed and it's hard for me to actually remember what I said. So follow up with your previous sales calls no's. So when a person said no to you on a sales call, just go back to them and in a month's time say, hey, how's it going? Hey, have you been working on these things you said you were going to do? Hey, blah, 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 blah. You can quite often pick some business up from that. Number 3, resell to current clients with different offers. The easiest sales you can make is going back to your current client base because they've already purchased from you, the trust's already there if you've done a good job, and offering something else to them. Hey, I've got this brand new other thing here. Maybe they've got additional problems that you can help them with. Resell to them. That's the quickest way you can make cash. That is probably the most potent way, right? Number 5, you have to understand that prospects, potential clients, leads, whatever you want to call them, they do not give a single shit about you, right? They will get on the phone with you, they will email you, and they will say, and this is a harsh reality, it's actually very hard for people to kind of understand because it's painful. They will get on a call with you, they will email you, they will text you, right? You will have a call, and none of them really care about you. They don't care if you start telling them, a big long story about, how you are trying to build like a friendship with them. All they care about is themselves and their needs. They care about that you can provide a solution to their problem. That's all they care about. And even if you think, I've got great rapport with this person, they're definitely going to buy from me. Often people are just nice to each other. Does not mean they want to buy from you. And you have to get good at understanding what their clients value and only offer that to them. So I worked for a charity where I was helping with people with debt advice and things like that. So when I moved into sales, I knew when I could build up good rapport with someone, and good rapport on sales calls is like good to an extent. And I remember thinking to myself, I do all these sales calls and I wasn't closing anyone. And I was thinking to myself, all these people are saying, yeah, maybe. But it's just because I built so much rapport with them. They were actually being nice to me. They weren't actually being honest with me. And the honest thing is that they didn't really care about what I was either trying to sell them. They didn't really care. I hadn't presented it well enough. They do not care about you. People will say to you, they are going to buy from you, and then they will just ghost you. People will organize a time and a date to sign a contract with you, they will just ghost you. This will happen again and again and again. You will have an amazing conversation with a person in the messenger, and then suddenly, as soon as you pitch for a call, they will disappear from the face of the planet, right? You will never hear from them again. They lie all the time to you. And this sounds, I don't mean this to sound super negative. This is just after prospecting thousands and thousands and thousands of leads and people. Drinking my green tea here helps to keep my brain focused. This is just how people operate, right? It's just a common trend. Understand that when you get on a sales call with someone, they do not care really about you. Oftentimes they will lie and say they care about your product and they don't even care about that, right? So number 6, get really good at reading people. So I'm in Tai Lopez's mastermind, and I've been listening to the dude for years. I'm in all sorts of programs, and one of the most important things he repeatedly drums into you. I'm literally going to give you, I think his mastermind is 300 mastermind. I think it's valued at 50 to 75k. So I'm literally giving you 50 to 75k advice, right? One of the things he drums into you is that you have to get good at reading people, because if you can't read people very well, as I have not been able to in the past, you will fall for all sorts of traps. You will partner with the wrong people. You will get absolutely sharked by those around you. And you also will ignore the people who are genuinely good for you as well. So there are 3 dark triad personality traits that personalities are ranked against, right? And these three traits are narcissism, machiavellianism, and psychopathy, right? So I'm going to give you a brief I'm going to give you a brief description. I'm getting hungry, you see. Brief description of each of those types there. So first of all, we have machiavellianism. Sneaky, sneaky, sneaky people. People who say one thing to your face, behind your back, they do something else. People who are constantly trying to move themselves up the ladder, don't really care about you, and will look for any opportunity to kind of, crap on you, basically. In the entrepreneur space, there are a lot of people who fall under the category of machiavellianism and narcissism. Narcissism is self-love, where they love themselves too much, and it's got a few different traits there, but essentially, like, they love themselves too much. They think they're super self-important. They think they're entitled to things. The vain, all this sort of stuff, right? Narcissism is very dangerous, particularly when it's like narcissistic personality disorder. And what that means is a person will happily throw you under the bus to preserve their own ego, right? So I'm going to give you some examples of these, but I just wanted to run down the basic description of them. Being a psychopath, women don't really have to worry too much about being a psychopath. It's like a male trait that's usually associated with testosterone. Like, all the prisons are filled with guys who've committed murder. Psychopaths, right? Don't really feel too much, quite cold. They just kind of go through life not really feeling too much. And sometimes, like the psychopathy traits, they don't actually reveal themselves, but sometimes they do, and people end up committing like loads of crimes and things like that. Okay, so psychopaths, we're going to leave that one for now because it's more of a rarer one. You want to be scoring 0 on any psychopath test, right? Or as close to 0 as possible. Machiavellianism and narcissism have these two traits. Everyone is on a sort of scale of them, right? It's quite rare that we actually all score 0 on these. But, some people actually score quite high. So a good example of a Machiavellian person. So I was dealing with this really, really nice guy. He was a CEO of an insurance company, and he wanted to work with me a few years ago. And basically, I was going through this stage of essentially proving to people that I'm very good at what I did. It was actually one of the things I was trying to do to stand out from the market of people. I figured that if I give people value up front, they will actually spend more money with me later, because they were like, this guy's a real deal, the trust is already there, and I was happy to do the big value up front for free. Anyway, I met with this CEO. He was in America, CEO of an insurance company, big insurance company, super, super nice guy. We sat on Zoom calls, we had like whiskeys together, we had a good chat and things like this. He was telling me about what his main problem was. I knew I could solve his main problem, and he was like, look, I'm actually looking for someone to partner with who's really, really good in this realm. And he was like, this is my problem. I was like, you know what? I will help you with your main problem. I could solve it pretty quickly in the space of probably about 24 hours. And I ended up solving this problem for me. And essentially, long story short, he ghosted me completely afterwards. I added about 100K onto his business for the year with like the problem that I solved for him, and he completely ghosted me. And he was earning so much money that, like, if he'd have even paid me 10% of just that 100K, like, it would have been a drop in the ocean to him. But basically what I realized afterwards is that this guy had sat through call after call, had messaged me, had texted me, had said he really wanted to work with me, manipulating me, manipulating. Machiavellian 100 out of 100, right? I didn't even see it coming, right? Because he just seemed like such a nice guy. Now, looking back, I was a little bit naive, but also I was trying out new things as well. I was trying to increase the amount of sort of lifetime revenue that I was being paid, right? So tried a few new things, got burnt, learned the lesson. Machiavellian person. Good job that was the first person, because if I ran into too many people like that, they can actually destroy your business. The second one, where I dealt with a narcissistic person, I'm just going to be careful how I said this. I had this person once who had bought from me, and within 4 days, this person was getting amazing results using my stuff. They were using like the scripts I was telling them, like the messaging scripts. They were closing high ticket deals. They were smashing it within like 4 days. After that, after literally a week, they stopped taking any advice from me. They weren't like doing any of the work. They weren't like basically doing anything. They just stopped following what I was saying. And they were turning up to calls empty-handed, not doing any of the homework whatsoever. And I said to them, I was like, but they were doing, that was it. They were doing loads of other things, like just random bits and pieces of information. And I was like, what's going on? Like, why aren't you doing any work? And they laughed on the call and they were like, haha, I just think I'm just a massive narcissist, basically. Anyway, the next week after that, they were actually complaining that they hadn't got any results and credited all the great results they got from working with me to another person. They also hired like another coach at the same time. It was like a mindset coach. Even though they used my scripts, even though they used all my messaging tactics, even though they used my word for word stuff, I was telling them exactly what to say and exactly how to, sell to a person. They credited all of that to the mindset person instead. And I just said, you know what, you can get like a refund here, because I didn't want a narcissist person who had like the ego involved dealing with them. They're very dangerous people. So just gave them the money back. Okay. So one thing that Ty says in his masterminds is that narcissism runs biggest in the entrepreneur community in people who are doing between 300 grand to 3 million per year. And basically what happens is they get a little bit of money and they become a massive dick. And I have noticed this to be true, actually. I was scrolling on this guy's wall. He was like on Facebook, and used to be like a nice guy, but now he runs like a moderately successful business. He's in that range of 300K to 3 million. And this person had commented just like a basic comment on like one of his posts. And he was just like taking the mick out of this person, was like belittling them, was saying basically that they had like faulty money beliefs. I was like, narcissist, right? Got a little bit of money and suddenly thinks they are superior to everyone else. Massive narcissist traits. Avoid people like that, right? They will destroy your business. They're also not great people to have in your social circles either, okay? Point number 7, improve your network and mindset. Most entrepreneurs will tell you about a story about how they have done everything on their own and they've started from nothing. I'm in a lot of these entrepreneur circles now, and honestly, I've actually found the opposite. Most of the entrepreneurs who've made it big, they have all at some point had help from either their network or they've been around money. Let me explain. So if a person really has started with nothing, has come from the ghetto and has never really known money, are they in the same situation as someone who is self-made, who's from London, who's from LA, who's grew up with a family with money, but also had to start their own company on their own? No, they're not, because person A doesn't have the right set of beliefs that person B has, right? They don't have the same set of beliefs. So I grew up in a family with like no money. My mom actually watches my videos. I grew up in a family with like no money. I used to watch my mom struggle every month. She did everything to try and put food on the table. We were homeless. My grandma had to take me in. I grew up with like no money. So when I was in my early 20s, I never even knew like money could be got. Like I just didn't even enter my head that there could be like a better life out there, that there is money to get out there. Very restrained and restricted beliefs. I didn't know what I didn't know. However, I was reading Dan Bilzerian's book, and he's like this Instagram influencer. and he's got like, I don't know, 30 million followers. He, you know, is worth hundreds of millions, but a lot of people said that like his dad was also worth hundreds of millions, so obviously he inherited his money. But in Dan Bilzerian's book, Dan was talking about like how he actually didn't inherit any of his money, and he talks about like how he managed to generate money. Now that might be true, it might not be true, but the point I took away from that is he still got brought up in big houses with expensive cars and things like this. His money mentality would have been very, very, very different to mine. So like when he, you know, left the nest, left his family home, and actually started to try and get money himself, he knew there was money already out there. I didn't. I had no idea there was money out there. I had to be shown it by chance, come across YouTube videos, come across adverts that were telling me about a better life. So luckily, if you're in that similar situation, here's a few shortcuts for you. You probably already kind of know if you're watching these sort of videos, because these videos aren't for like the masses, right? But you can hire or rent luxury items for the day to get a feel what it's like to be wealthy. There is a guy called Dan Pena. You've probably seen him on YouTube. He screams and shouts at like his entrepreneur students. Anyway, he's worth a lot of money now, but Donald Trump and Dan Pena are actually friends. Donald Trump actually used to laugh at Dan Pena for going everywhere first class, on first class planes, first class, you know, trains and whatnot. He used to travel first class everywhere when he had no money, and Donald Trump used to laugh at him for it. But Dan Pena said he used to do it so that he understood and knew what it felt like to have money. So he used to deliberately try and reprogram his money beliefs, right? Which I think is absolutely frigging fascinating, by the way. And I wish I'd have done something like that. So if you're in a situation right now where you have, you know that you don't really have these money beliefs, try and treat yourself maybe once every quarter. Just save some money specifically, and then go out one day and just splash the money on whatever you want. Make sure, obviously, don't be silly about this, right? Don't be an idiot about this. Pay your bills, right? But just see if for 3 months in a row you can build up a little bit of money, even if it's just £500, and go out and try and spend it all in one day. I know that it goes against every part of money and budgeting advice. You should save money. You should save money. But unless your beliefs change, you will never, ever get any sort of money, right? Also, understand that you can improve your network by kind of learning personality types. So if you can improve your environment, improve your network as well, that often is like one of the biggest wins to shifting your beliefs. Because if you've grew up in like a very poor environment, you need to move out of that environment and get around people with money. You need to start reading books like Never Eat Alone by Keith Ferrazzi, How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie, I think it's Dale Carnegie, I can't remember. You should be learning how to meet people or doing whatever you can to get into the circles of other people. Changing your environment changes your mindset. Okay, so number 8, we're nearly there now. I hope you're enjoying this. Ooh. Number 8 is managing your strengths. Right, so Sam Ovens talks about using the Myers-Briggs personality test, and it's one of the best things that you can do. It really is. You go in your Myers-Briggs, find out what personality test you are. You're going to score slightly differently every time you take your Myers-Briggs test. So what I would recommend you do is you take a series of them in a variety of different moods over, I don't know, a 3 to 6 month period. And then you just see which one comes out as like the top one. So my top one is an ENTJ. So I'm an extroverted, thinking, judgmental commander, right? Other people who are, you know, ENTJs, Jordan Peterson, Gordon Ramsay, Alex Hormozy, most likely. You know, there's this guy on TikTok at the moment who's constantly like shouting at the camera, ENTJ as well, right? And it's perceived as kind of like a bad thing, but it's not really a bad thing, like ENTJ. It's perceived as like a very dominant personality. It can be dominant, but my point from this is that when I was following Sam Ovens, he was talking about like how you should basically lock yourself in a room all day and just focus on work. Have your routine very set, focus on work, have your routine very set, make all these sacrifice things. And I used to watch other people do this and they do it successfully. Now I tried to do this and I wanted to frigging kill myself, right? Honestly, I was so bored. I became, so twitchy and like my work productivity went downhill. I could feel my happiness starting to slip. It was changing my personality. And so that was like the key reason for actually doing it, was to increase productivity. It did not work for me at all. And it turns out it's just because that is not suited with my, like Sam Ovens is an introvert, I'm an extrovert. He gets energy from being on his own, working through complex tasks on his own. I get my energy through being around people, like bonding with people, making sure that I'm marching a team towards a goal, right? Making sure that I'm creatively coming up with ideas in a group, right? ENTJ. So when I tried to do somebody else's routine, I wasn't managing my strengths. In fact, I was going completely against my strengths. So I was speaking to Ty Lopez on he had like this fireside chat call, and he was saying, I had basically asked him like how he manages himself, because he's a very similar personality type to me. And he said that like, he's an extrovert, so he uses like the 60-30-10 rule. And the 60-30-10 rule is, he says like 60% of the time being an extrovert, he spends his time talking. That is him managing himself. And if you look at any of his videos, he's done thousands of videos, not even including his courses, all over the internet of him just talking into the camera. Sometimes he's talking into the camera for 4 hours at a time. I was watching a Grant Cardone webinar the other day, because I'm subscribed to Grant Cardone, and it popped up like he'd done like a, where it says streamed 2 or 3 hours ago on YouTube. And I was looking at it and I was like, this is a 12-hour long webinar. Grant Cardone has literally talked for 12 hours into a webinar, and I clicked into the video and I didn't have time to watch it and I skipped through it. This dude took like a toilet break every 3 hours for 5 minutes and was straight back in front of the camera for 12 hours in a row. Extrovert, managing himself, spending the majority of his time talking. Ty was saying if you're an introvert, you should spend 60% of your time locked away on your own, working deeply on tasks like Sam Ovens. He was also saying as well that if you're an introvert, you should be picking up a skill like coding, because that is how coding and software, because that is how the world is moving. And a person who, is very good at locking themselves away, working on their own, like coding is one of those things you can get your teeth into, as long as you have the brain power for it as well. So I'm an ENTJ. My strengths, if you go on, I think it's like, if you type in Myers-Briggs, it comes up with, like, actually, let me just look right now. I'll just tell you the website. I'll tell you the website. Where's a good one? Myers-Briggs. 16personalities.com. It's actually, let me share my screen. All right, we're going to go on it. We're going to go ENTJ, personality types, ENTJ, ENTJ, ENTJ. Where is it, man? Commander. Okay. Can we actually share this? Let me share it with you guys. All right. So, ENTJ Commander. The website is called 16personalities.com. I'm an ENTJ, and you can literally, after you've done the quiz, so you can take the test up here, post your test results down below. Let me know what you are, and let's figure out what you're strong at together. So my strengths are, I'm efficient. I know this. I am an efficient guy. I track what I eat. I work out at the gym all the time. I manage my calories. I'm energetic. That is true. I have endless amounts of energy. So I should be in efficient and energetic roles where I'm moving all the time, right? I'm self-confident. Couldn't do this if they were plagued by, I do, everyone goes through times of where they aren't confident, right? I am no exception. Generally, I am confident with myself. I'm strong-willed. it's funny, it's literally, like, I've not read this for a little while, but I am very strong-willed. My drive is like, boom, like and that's not to sound like big-headed or anything like that, but I can get like shot down again and again and again, and I know I will eventually hit the goal. I just do not give up, and I don't think I ever will. A lot of my friends have kind of commented on it. My girlfriend was like, "You're probably the most." She knows like a lot of smart people as well. She was like, "You're probably the most driven person out of them," and it's just like a part of my personality, and I manage it well. So I take on difficult tasks as well. Strategic thinker. Commanders exemplify the difference between moment-to-moment crisis management and navigating the challenges of steps. Yeah, so I do. I generally plan out, like the day I try and plan out like my bigger goals. ENTJ. Charismatic and inspiring. These qualities combine to create individuals who are, well, I'm a people person. I like to speak with people, right? Now, here's my weaknesses. Stubborn and dominant. I would agree. I have been stubborn. I'm probably still stubborn. I used to be more stubborn. I'm trying to work against it. It's hard to not be stubborn sometimes. It's just very hard. Intolerant. When I was a bar manager once, and we basically got absolutely one of our like senior managers came in, things weren't going very well, and the senior manager came in and gave feedback to my boss, who was missing it at the time. She was like, "Rob is the only one who's actually shown like merit in any of the meetings I've actually had. Like the rest of your team suck," right? And she said, so that was the strength. She said, but Rob is very, very critical of others and intolerant of like, he's judgmental. And I've got better at it over time, but I am intolerant of like stupidity. Honestly, I'm just like, sometimes I'm just like, this is not right. Like, what are you doing? And like, it's just one of those things. I'm trying to work against it so I can be more about how to win friends and influence people. But sometimes I'm just like, I have no time for people who are idiots, right? So you can tell that I'm probably intolerant anyway. Impatient, arrogant. I'd say that I'm not very arrogant. I say that I've got better living with, I've been with my fiance now for years, and I used to just try and deal with, anytime she had like an emotional problem, I would try and just deal with it like logically, right? Poor handling of emotions. Cold and ruthless. I would say occasionally I'm cold and ruthless. So the thing is about this, it's a general principle. So for instance, like not all the time am I self-confident, not all the time am I strong-willed. I haven't planned anything this week, although generally I am a strategical thinker, right? So these are more often right than wrong. Some of these, I wouldn't say I'm cold and ruthless all the time. I say that I'm actually more warm now. I used to be cold and ruthless as well. But if you look at typical ENTJs, Gordon Ramsay, for instance, cold and ruthless. The dude is putting pieces of bread to people's faces and calling them an idiot sandwich. So, cold and ruthless. You get the idea, right? So, let's go back to what I was on. Okay, you need to work out your personality type, and you need to then manage it effectively. If you don't manage it effectively, don't get good at doing things or attempt to get good at doing things which you aren't naturally very good at. Find out your strengths and then like triple down on those. Even Gary Vaynerchuk talks about this, and he does 150 million a year with VaynerMedia. So I'm going to listen to him because he's smarter than me and he's a black belt in business, right? Final point, speed is everything. So I've worked for tons of people now, and from fast thinking CEOs, executives, to people who are just starting out, to very inexperienced people, the whole range of people I've worked with. And without fail, the people who think and act fast, the quick decision makers, are the best. I was speaking to one of my friends the other day, and I'm not going to say his name because he might watch this channel, but he was a very, very, very good salesperson. He was getting paid a lot of money by a company. Anyway, he had this like typical life crisis like most people do. And he just one day jacked in his job. He just quit from his job. He was just like, you know what, I want to run a business on my own. And he told me this last year, that he was like, I'm going to go out there, just frigging quit my job. He was like, I've just took a month off, right? And he was like, I'm going to frigging go out there and build a business now. And I was like, good for you. He was the top performing salesperson in his teams. Very, very driven, right? I spoke with him a little while ago, right? 9 months later, and I was like, what are you doing with your life? And he was like, yeah, I think we're going to get back into work next month. And I was like, right, okay. And he was like, I've been thinking about starting a business for ages, and I just don't know whether to. I don't know if I should really. And I thought to myself, bro, like 9 months later, you still haven't done what you want to do, right? It's still in idea stage, okay? Even though, and this was blew my mind a little bit, even though he is very, very good at what he does. He's a frigging beast. He can close anyone, right? However, he can do the hard work for other people to make other people happy. He can't do it for himself, though. Know that 95% of the planet are exactly like this. They want to do something, they don't. They have an idea, but they don't execute on it. They think that they should be doing X, Y, and Z, but they just delay on it. 95% of the planet are these, and these are your competitors. It's not very hard to be good at what you do as long as you practice coming up with an idea, execution. This is being a good operator, right? So I used to be a procrastinator for a while. When I was I wanted to start a business from probably about 23. And I didn't start one until I was about 27. And in my mind, the whole time I was like, well, I'm just going to put some savings aside so then I can quit work and properly focus on my business. By 27, I still hadn't quit my job. And I was like, you know what? I am just going to start doing bits of business stuff at night, right? Which is what I should have done all along. I delayed on it. I thought I need this perfect scenario before anything works. Life is not perfect. Things go wrong. You get obstacles all the time. And sometimes it just completely sucks, right? You must be good at juggling multiple things at once. You must be good at thinking, okay, here's a bunch of ideas. I'm gonna quickly try each of these out. Don't think, I'm going to do this next week. Think, how can I do this today? You know, Dr. Alex Mayer, he's tied up as his business partner on like a lot of different projects. Dr. Alex Mayer, he's a PhD, very, very smart guy. And he ran Zeus, which was a dating website, and he got it up to like $1 billion a year in revenue, and he sold it for he sold his share of the company for hundreds and hundreds of millions, like 300 million or something. You can Google this, Dr. Alex Mayer, M-E-H-R is Mayer. And he was going through a time where he had already generated a bunch of millions and millions with his company, but nothing was working anymore. And he was like, we need to friggin' like basically revive this beast. Otherwise, we're gonna straight up die. So he'd already had a limited success with the company. He was now in, up shit's creek, right? And he said that he got together with a team and they came up with, over the weekend, they would come up with an idea. On Monday, they would test it. By Friday, they would measure the result. And then Saturday, Sunday, they would come up with another idea. He did this for weeks and weeks in a row, and he trialed loads and loads of ideas. One of those ideas got the company to $1 billion a year in revenue. You have to act quick. Idea to market, idea to market, idea to market. Execute, 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 execute. Measure the results, measure the results. Ty was saying on one of his calls, this is friggin' insane, that when he partnered with Alex, they went through a time where they set their only goal as to launch a business every single day. Crazy. This is high level stuff that you don't hear people talk about. And what the plan was to do after a year was to keep the 5-10 that worked really well, cut everything else, launch a bit. Now, granted, he's got money, but the point of it is just testing out absolutely everything you can. Throwing everything at a wall, seeing what sticks. If you don't know where to turn, the best thing to do is to take action. So, I don't think they actually managed to launch a business every day because it's too much of a goal, right? But what he did is he set an incredible stretch target of launching a business every single day with speed. He knocked out the ballpark. I think maybe they managed to set up a business every 3 days, which is still frigging impossible by anybody else's standards, right? But because the goal was so high, it forced them to. And then he generated hundreds of millions in online sales, right? You have to learn to throw things at a wall, move fast, implement when things aren't sticking, and just really, really, blow it out the ballpark there. Every single successful person I have seen all operate with speed. Every single failed person I see don't operate with speed. They think about it. They sit on it. They, worry about failure. Some people worry about success. You don't have to worry about failure. No one cares, right? If you fail, no one cares. When I was in college, I was on a bus. I used to get the bus to college. And I remember getting on the bus one day and this girl came on the bus, a bus stopped at another bus stop as it does on the route to wherever it's going. And this girl got on the bus and she fell over when she got on the bus. She was full on face plant and the whole bus roared with laughter. And this girl sat at the front, bright red. And you know that she will never ever forget that. That memory will stay with her for years and years and years. However, reality, every single person on the bus had forgotten about this moment 5 minutes afterwards. And I remember just sitting and watching and people were just talking amongst themselves, just talking about the day. For 5 minutes, everyone, was embarrassed for her and laughter, right? She was the point of humor for them 5 minutes. No one cared after that, right? But that will affect her for ages afterwards. No one cares if you fail. No one cares, right? No one's going to laugh at you. If people are going to laugh at you and turn around and say to you, 6 months down the line, do you remember when you failed there? Get them out of your life because there's almost 8 billion people on this planet. And if you just happen to have got one of those machiavellian narcissists who down talk you, or maybe even a psychopath, just cut them out, right? Because there's plenty of nice people out there. And remember, you have to change your environment as well. Step away from them type of people. Okay, so I think that's everything right there. I think that's all of my lessons here. I'm actually gonna, for this video, I'm actually going to include on the end screen a few different lessons that you can go and watch, actually, also on my YouTube channel. How to effectively network. I'm going to put these on the end screen. They might even be up there now. How to effectively network, how to connect with powerful people, what you should do in sales, and a 1% hack as well about managing your strengths, where I talk a little more in detail about these concepts here. So, as the comment section, let me know below, what your personality type is. Let me know, what you're going to execute on this week. Let me know, have you been following up with the people that you know you need to follow up with? I'm going to build this YouTube channel brick by brick into something great. And I want to take you guys along for the journey as well. And I want to encourage a community of people who actually take action. And I'm actually going to give you good advice as well. Things that I've learned. There's a lot of people out there who are not giving very good advice. In one of Ty's masterminds, he said, he was like, he networks with billionaires, he networks with all sorts of millionaires. He's also networked with, people who, maybe haven't started a business as well. He has, he's had hundreds of thousands of people buy into his programs and things. And he was like, out of all the people I've met, he was just like, I know about 2 people who actually know what the hell they're talking about. And I thought that was really interesting, right? And I see on YouTube these days all this advice coming out. I see on like LinkedIn and things, because I'm active on there. There's so much advice that's just bad advice that comes out of places. And if I could give you good advice and try and cut through the noise and actually hold you accountable over these videos while you try and implement this advice in, I think we're all winning, and I think we're all, we're going to go somewhere as well. So I hope you enjoyed this video today. Leave me a like if you did. Take care. See you in the next one. Stay safe.